It is Flames Unfiltered, hosted by Brad Burud, Kyle Lewis, talking Flames hockey each and every week. Kyle, did you survive?
Physically, yes. Mentally, I have yet to return, but...
See, it's the opposite when I go on hockey trips. Like, I come back mentally rejuvenated, but physically I'm exhausted.
Well, I'm so physically exhausted, I haven't had time to mentally recuperate yet. I gotta say, I'm very proud of myself, because I actually went to the gym today. I just got back from Montreal this morning. I went to the office and worked until like my usual time, and then I got home, and I was like, I'm busy the next few days too. I'll work out on the weekend. I'm like, no, you got to go tonight. You got to stick with it. You're doing good. You're doing good. And I ate a lot of poutine in Quebec and drank a lot of beer. So had to work some of that stuff off. So, and we got some new followers and some new friends that I made in Montreal that are counting on me to tell some stories and make this entertaining. So,
well, let's go. This is cool. You went to Montreal this week. Yep. I mean, for the game on what day was the game? Tuesday. We're recording Wednesday. Yep. Geez, I'm all messed up on my days this week. But good game last night. Real good game. I missed a little bit of the first period. I rewatched it, but what a game! What a game!
Yeah, we had phenomenal seats, and I don't think there's really a bad seat in the place. And I am, as a hockey fan, like we always hear about, you know, how amazing the atmosphere is in Montreal, and it's second to none. Those fans are so passionate. And
did you say before I went connected?
Not connected, but like literally across the street. Like we were at the courtyard area, like right there. So
I can't remember where I stayed when I was there, but I took an underground tunnel right into the arena. It was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, we gotta do that game next year, Calgary and Montreal, because it's such a cool city. And it's funny, I'm sitting here wearing a Motorhead t-shirt, and I was saying to you before the show, I had an analogy. It's kind of funny. It's like, ask somebody if they're a Motorhead fan, and they're like, oh, I love Ace of Spades. It's like, no, like name me another goddamn song. You go to Montreal, everybody in that arena is a diehard fan. And when the Habs scored, it's like I shrunk, like, and I'm not a tall guy to begin with, but I shrunk like 6 inches sitting in my seat. It was brutal because they're so excited. And then when the Flames would score, me and my 5 friends in my section of 300 people would lose our minds, right? Which was mostly Anthony Mantha and Jonathan Huberdeau's family, so they were pretty cool too.
It's, you know, I'll tell you, the atmosphere. I've been to every Canadian rink. I do think that, you know, Montreal and Winnipeg to me stood above Montreal. There's just something special about that whole city. I really liked it there. I really did.
Oh, it's a totally different culture. It feels almost like you're in a different country. And well, the whole province of Quebec, and God knows I saw most of it because, God bless my buddy Dom and the other people I was with, Martin and Jackie and my coworker Mark. But man, like none of us put a lot of thought into this. We flew into Montreal on Monday morning. We drove an hour and a half to the Alexandria plant, Alexandria, Ontario, where my friend Dom is from, to look at this molding production plant. We left to go back to Montreal. There's another hour and a half back. So we get to our hotel like 7 o'clock that night or something. The next morning, we get up at like 5 a.m. We drive to another plant for Geldwin Interior Doors, which is a 3.5 hour drive from Montreal. So we drive 3.5 hours to the plant, spend a few hours there, 3.5 hours back, and go to the gate. So like I have experienced rural Quebec.
Yeah, you have.
And it's funny, like, you want to get to know people. There's no better way than to stick 5 people on a half ton and send them all over the fucking
yeah, and that can be good and bad.
Oh, so, and of course, the stupid shit too. Like, we're all so pretentious, and every one of us has to have a different brand of coffees. We had to hit like all these different coffee spots, and one of the guy that I work with, of course, he's a diehard Tim Hortons drinker. So we were trying to find a Tim Hortons across from, I guess it was McDonald's where I got my coffee. Anyway, my buddy Martin he said, because the Dobbins said, like, oh, where's the Tim Hortons? And they're all French, right? Martin says, real right là. And Dobbins like, what do you mean? He's like, right là, like he was driving by it, right? And it's funny because they're speaking the same language, but you think they're from 2 different planets in that moment. Like, it's literally right fucking there. Like, I can't make any clear to you where it is. And mind you, it's super early in the morning, right? But anyway, it was just nuts. The whole trip was just go. I got back this morning, and I haven't stopped since. So, and now I'm here talking to you.
Well, good. We're talking Flames, and kind of a lot to talk about this week. I mean, nothing earth-shattering with the team. The week kind of started off, I don't know, is there a better word than shitty? Because that Utah game was bad. Last Wednesday's game was bad. A 5-1 loss to Utah, 0 emotion, and I was really down in the dumps after that game.
Yeah, I was very, very Very unhappy. Also, I think we all were.
But then Friday, I thought our effort against New Jersey was in the top 4 of the year at least. I thought a pretty good outing as Vladar gets a 22 save shutout, and we got 2 goalies that are looking good.
Yeah, I mean, I still it's difficult because I still stand by what I said in terms of letting Dustin roll for him with a little bit more. Vladar was great in the Jersey game, and he was fine against the Oilers too. But I'll tell you, one of the takeaways was from Montreal was watching Dustin Wolf play. Holy shit, what a treat!
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about goaltending. We can shuffle back to the Edmonton game and the Montreal game as
we don't have to talk about the Edmonton game, do we?
I just want to touch on a couple of things from that game. But Dan Vladar has been really good, I think, and I know you're really big on Wolf, and so am I. Honestly, I'm probably a little hard on him. I've been pleasantly surprised this year. I really have. I've been pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
and he was really, really good last night. He was really good last night. And I know you thought let's time to let Wolf run with it. Then they give Vladar 2 in a row. He comes off the shutout against the Devils and gets a start against Edmonton. And I thought he was fine in the Edmonton game.
Yep.
You know, for the most part, I thought he was fine. I think both goalies have been fine. But it got me thinking. One of our biggest question marks coming into the year, what was the goaltending and what was going to happen with it, and where were we going to go? Is Wolf going to be able to hack it? Is Vladar going to come off his injury and be okay? And I know we're 13 games in, so somewhat small sample size, but we've got to start talking about the fact that what we've seen so far has probably proven to us at an 80 percentile that we got 2 goalies that we could run with in the future through this rebuild, right?
Yeah, well, Wolf is, like I saw today, he's top 6 in the NHL and 5-5 save percentage.
I saw that, yeah.
Very, very impressive. He is an early favorite for the Calder. And Dan Vladar, who hip injury last year, you know, he mentioned it bothered him throughout the season. Always was considered a reliable backup, but we never saw any great amount of that in Calgary. And now I think we're getting, like, I guess the easiest way to put it is, to this point now, as much as I love Wolf, I don't get upset or worried when Vladar's in net because he's been really good too.
So this might be like 3 weeks premature, but I do want to bring it up today because I was thinking about it last night. At what point do we talk about signing Vladar again, re-signing him, and running with this tandem that will probably be Wolf's net for the most part, but in Vladar we have a backup that we trust, right? If we could trade Vladar, what would we get? A 3rd round pick? Exactly what we gave for him? Or are we better off signing him and sticking with him as our backup?
I don't think there's any. Like, they're all good options, right? I'm happy to keep him around, presuming his contract is similar to the one he's on now. With the right situation, somebody could put maybe a 2nd round pick if they have a goaltending injury down the stretch or something like that. I don't think that's too likely, but I don't know. It's not somebody you want to overcommit to, but I think he's proven his worth, and we'd be happy to keep him, right? Whereas before, it's like, oh, if he walks, he walks. And now it's like, you know what? This is probably as good of a backup goaltender as you'll find in the NHL, at least at the present time.
Yeah, I think at this point, if we don't re-sign him and we lose him to a trade, or if he walks in free agency this summer, which is a possibility, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, well, we're gonna you know what we're gonna do? Our want list on our menu is gonna be a guy like Dan Vladar, right? So at what point of the season do we at least need to seriously think about if that is an option we want to move forward with?
Well, it's going to depend largely on Devin Cooley, who doesn't he go to a one-way contract after this year?
He does. Yes, that brings a very, very solid point on that. And
he's very, very good. He's been lights out with the Wranglers, and it's not talked about hardly at all, if at all, is Walter Ignatieff has been quite good as well in his limited playing time. So the team, and that's to say nothing of Suniev and other goaltenders in the system, whoever else we may draft, like, Goaltending is a strength in this organization, which for the longest time it wasn't. But I would think by the beginning of the new year, we'll have a pretty good indication of which way to go with all this.
Yeah, I would agree. And I thought when I put that on my agenda that I might be a little premature on this, but worth talking.
But it's interesting because now Vladar, and I saw this on Twitter earlier, and I'd credit the person if I remember who it was that said it, but Vladar earned another start, the Oilers start, based on his performance against Jersey. It's the first time, I think, that a goaltender's gone back-to-back, right?
It is.
Now we could very easily and should absolutely argue that Dustin Wolf deserves to start in Boston for exactly the same reason. He won the Montreal game almost single-handedly. None of those goals were really his fault.
I think he gets it, don't you? But here's one of the things. Vladar has had some of the tougher matchups. I guess that's probably could be argued, but I would say he's got some of the tougher matchups. I think right now a good test for Wolf would be to put him in against a Boston Bruins team on the road, 2 games in a row. I think this would be a good test for him.
Yeah, well, and it's essentially with this a little more at stake now because friend of the show, Kurt Bahal, is a Bruins fan.
That's
Brandon
right.
Bahal's uncle, right? And he tweeted right. And I responded. I basically just said, "Hey man, enjoy the game," like because that can be tricky, right? Like you got your family against your favorite team, but it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, back to the point, Wolf absolutely deserves to start. He was lights out against Montreal, phenomenal. It was so cool to see him play live. Just give me a whole new appreciation for him, and also for Matthew Coronato's shot. And I should mention before I forget, because this is very important, and you saw this last night. Thanks to my buddy Mark that I work with being persistent, he and I walked over to the RDS broadcast booth, and I met Denny Gauthier. And he actually looked at me. He's like, the first thing he says was when I introduced myself, he said, "Oh shit!" He's like, "You're the guy that wants me to do the podcast." I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." So anyway, we shook hands, we chatted for a while. He gave me his email address. So Denny Gauthier will be joining us at some point this season. And I can't freaking wait for that. But what a gentleman and what a cool guy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So apart from the awesome win, that was definitely a highlight of the trip.
So let's talk. Let's go to the Edmonton game first, and then we'll move on to that one.
McDavidless Oilers, and we still
McDavidless Oilers, and Draisaitl gets on 20 seconds in. Is that not how it always goes? It just.
Well, I mean, elite players are even better when other elite players aren't playing. They're able to raise their game, and Draisaitl obviously did that. But the 20 seconds in was really gave me some flashbacks to a situation we dealt with before with a goaltender who was doing that.
This one I'm not pinning on Vladar though at all, in the fact that Ball and Anderson were completely lost for a lot of this game.
Yeah, and you'd said a few things about Ball in particular and not being happy with him, and I thought it was a little unusual that those guys were that poor because they have been a very solid pairing more often than not, although there's still some kinks in their game they're trying to sort out, obviously.
I'll tell you a kink that happened last night, and you were there to see it. A bad pinch by Ball creates the goal that did get overturned. If that doesn't get overturned, pin that one on Ball. I love his size, and I love that he threw Caulfield to the ground last night. That made me laugh. But I there's so much I do like about him. So I hate to be like, hey, he's my whipping boy this year. But he kind of has been lately in the fact that if I'm going to get a big body stay-at-home defenseman, I sure as hell better get one I can rely on, right?
Yeah, well, I think he's kind of adjusting to a lot more responsibility in Calgary too, right? He's playing more minutes than he's ever played, and I think this is some of the growing pain that comes with that. So I agree. Like I saw it and I groaned quite audibly when that pinch happened.
Yeah, we all did.
Yeah, but I mean, also even from my vantage point, I knew right away that goal was coming back because 2 reasons. It was obvious from my vantage point that it was offside, and more importantly, Jamie Pringle is the undisputed king of video challenges.
Been arguably our MVP.
Yeah, he's definitely up there for sure. For sure. Now, the other thing that happened in the game that I didn't really get a real good look at, but I watched it later when I get back to my hotel, was the Anthony Mantha injury. Which was
he
was playing really well, at home in front of a lot. I met his sister actually, in front of a lot of friends and family. And it looks like he did something to his leg, so still waiting for some kind of an update on him.
There hasn't been any word on that, and I did not see a call up at all today, unless that happened later in the afternoon, which I haven't been able to check my phone.
Nothing as yet.
Nothing that I've seen, though. One last thing I want to talk about in this Edmonton game, and then I want to dig deeper into what you watched last night. Martin Pospisil takes a bad penalty, an offensive zone penalty, a high sticking penalty, and surprisingly, Huska pretty much pinned a loss on him basically in the post-game presser. And I had to laugh because I was listening to Rhett Warner the next day on Barnburner, and he freaked out on this, and he's like, I don't agree with Huska. He says, if that's, another player, we don't pin the loss on it. He goes, he goes, what the hell is Pospisil supposed to do? You want him to be aggressive now. You don't want him to be aggressive. He needs to be that way to be effective. He gets his stick up. He didn't it's not like he come flying in with an elbow. And I agree with Rhett Warner on this one. And I hate it because I'm defending an offensive zone penalty, and I'm such a stickler for that. But I'm sorry, if we don't have Martin Pospisil playing as an asshole, we don't have a good player.
Yeah, but I think it's incumbent upon said player to reel that in, right?
But how do you reel in an errant stick? It's not like he was swinging his stick either. I
still felt it was reckless. You have to control your stick, and sometimes you lose some control of it. It's a consequence of just playing hockey. I mean, we've all done it. But
then we'll flip forward here, though. You texted me the lines for Montreal early yesterday morning, and Pospisil was on the fourth line, and you liked it, and I did too. I think it's time, and he did get moved up because of the Mantha injury, but I do think it's time. Let's take some pressure off this guy who's, for the most part, underperformed outside of the Edmonton game, the early Edmonton game.
Yeah.
He's been virtually invisible or only visible in bad ways. Mm-hmm. Let's put him on the fourth line. Let's let him bang a little bit, and let's take some of that heat off of him.
Well, then I felt like when Huska was talking about him, he was very professional about it, and he didn't say anything that wasn't true. Pospisil didn't cost the Flames the game. The Flames were not very good, quite frankly.
No.
But Pospisil, he does well lower down the lineup, because he's the kind of guy that gets your fourth line going. Like he's a forechecker. He's fast, especially in a straight line.
Yeah.
And I think his demotion opened up the opportunities for other guys, and including Matthew Coronato.
Did we as a team and a fan base, he came into the league about this time last year, and we were super enamored with him. Like, I know I was
none of us expected him to stay with the team. None of us did.
No, and I was throwing out phrases of, this guy's my favorite Flame. And if you listen to some of the shows from last year, I did say that multiple times, and I still stand by it. Like, I love what this guy brings to the game. But did we get a little bit ahead of ourselves on him?
Yeah, because he gave us every reason to, right?
Yeah, he did. He really did.
But I mean, we have a guy that in these, one of the most valuable types of players you can have up and down the lineup wherever you need him. And I think it's a good learning experience for him to, play some limited minutes on the fourth line for a bit. Again, like you said, he got elevated after the Mantha injury, but the guy, you can put him on any line and he's not going to hurt you and is most likely going to help you. So I think it's a bit of a reality check to say, okay, you know what? The offense hasn't been there. There's been some stupid penalties. Let's, tone it down a little bit, find your game, work your way into it, cut out some of the dumb stick penalties and the offensive zone penalties, those types of things, and he'll work his way back up. He's too good not to.
Yeah. So what this Mantha injury is going to do, though, is, I think we both could agree that we like Backlund, Coleman, Coronato. We seem to like that. Kadri, Zary, Kuzmenko. I've been really down on Kuzmenko and frustrated with his play this year. And then he gets put on this line, and now the last two games I've really liked his game. Actually, I thought he stood out as one of the better players the last two games on the team.
Yeah, and the guys on Barnburner talked about this, and Jamie McLennan was on discussing it, saying how you can listen to a lot of broadcasts or watch a broadcast and not hear Kuzmenko's name at all because he has a tendency to disappear. Now, it's funny to me because they talk about, what he's worth or what he isn't worth in terms of a trade. But he was a throw-in in the trade last year.
I know.
And as a throw-in, he was damn near a point a game. He revitalized the power play, and he has the best sound bites on the team. The only possible competitor to that is fucking Devin Cooley, who's currently in the AHL.
Yes.
But This season, Kuzmenko has been, yes, invisible at times, but also very exciting at times. He is going to go on a hot streak at some point, which will drive his value up. The power play and the penalty kill, especially the power play, is absolutely abysmal. And he hasn't really done much to move that needle this season, but that can still change. So the conjecture on him just kind of makes me laugh because it's like nobody cared. We just had fun with this guy because we didn't think he was going to be any use to us.
Did you see what Darren Haynes tweeted about our power play?
I love Darren Haynes. I probably did, but I saw a lot of tweets and I drank a lot of beer, and I can't tell you that I honestly remember.
I think this was on the Edmonton game. He tweeted, last time the Flames scored a power play goal, Christian Uzelius had an assist.
That's hilarious. We talked about Uzelius on the show before. The guy was just very, very sublimely skilled.
He's one of my obscure favorites, right? This power play, the entry sucks. It's a lot like last year. And Savard is struggling miserably in Toronto with the power play too, and now he's gone. But the same woes that we had in the first 2/3 of last year are there, and the zone entries are not real good. And
I get worried when we go on the power play. I legitimately think, shit, we're going to have a short-handed goal against. And it happened last night.
It did.
Joel Armia. And as soon as the 2-on-1 started.
That was Huberdeau, wasn't it? Do we not? I don't know.
I can't remember. I put my head in my hands so quickly because I knew it was going to go in the back of the net. There was no way it wasn't.
Just see it coming, couldn't you?
Yeah. It just, you know what? Like with the goaltending we've had so far this year, if we could get our special teams in any way better, I think this team would sneak into a playoff spot.
I mean, 5-on-5, we've been really good, and you look at the penalty kill, and it's not been good. And we've allowed 3 shorthanded goals now, I believe, 2 or 3, 2 for sure. I don't know. I'm getting it's not, our special teams has not been good.
Been absolutely abysmal. So hopefully that turns around, because otherwise this is most nights. It's been a few stinkers, but most nights has been a pretty competitive team. So we shall see.
So last night you're there, and Matthew Coronato scores with just over 2 minutes to go.
I was also wearing a Connor Zary t-shirt, and he scored the first Flames goal. So
hey, were you not happy to see that? Because I'm starting to, I'm in like, how much leash are we going to give Connor Zary on the show before we start to get after his play a little bit? Because he's been on a real cold streak lately, and he comes up with a big goal last night, getting the first one on a good second effort. And then with under 3 minutes to go, Matthew Coronato unleashes a really good snapshot, scores, ties it up. And then describe to me the situation and the atmosphere in Montreal for that game, for that overtime goal.
Well, right away, like my buddy Mark, was like, oh shit, because was it Caulfield that lost his stick right off the draw?
Yeah. How did he lose his stick? Off the draw in overtime, you drop your stick?
Well, I think I don't know, maybe he wasn't prepared for the faceoff. I don't know, but it was an aggressive stick check, and his stick was gone. So immediately the Flames had possession. Now I'm sitting at that end of the rink, and I got a great view of this. So as soon as Coronato comes in, I'm like, he's got room. And then I think again, like, he's got a lot of room. And then as soon as he took that shot, I'm like, this game's over. And it happened so quick because he's got such a great release. Like, I kind of had the thought, like, this game's and then the puck was in the net. Because, and the thing is, and this is just my opinion, and this is, again, it's a bit different as a live spectator because you don't see until later all the replays and all the conjecture on the play. But to me, the defenseman was not respecting Coronato's shot. And understandably so, because Coronato's not a known commodity in the NHL, but he gave him about 2 to 3 feet that had he stepped up and Coronado didn't have that kind of room, all of a sudden Coronato's going to pivot back and look for a pass or do something else. But because he had the room to shoot, I'm like, man, you don't want that guy shooting.
Do you think in overtime, though, that a lot of defensemen are actually anticipate a guy pulling up and rotating around? Because you know how it's such a possession game.
That's it.
He shoots it wide and it rings around. It's a 2-on-1 headed the other way.
100% and game's over.
And game's over. So, like, a lot of times you'll see, players pull up, and when they maybe shouldn't, they should take the shot like Coronato did. Yeah. And I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm trying to give it the opposite end from the defenseman's.
Oh yeah, and like I said, I don't think he respected his shot because the guy's fairly new to the league, and
Yep.
And for he's probably expecting to look for a pass, and you're also expecting your goaltender, hoping your goaltender is going to make the save.
Yeah,
but
for sure, because it's an on-screen shot too. I mean, it's a shot an NHL goalie probably should have, right?
In a lot of cases, but it's also a great shot. Now, the reason all that took place is because Coronato's confidence in his shot.
Yep.
That was the goal scorer's goal, which I hate. Hockey cliches are so goddamn many and they get repeated so often, but it was awesome. Like the elation, to answer your initial question, is like the experience, the elation of seeing the puck go in and having that small green. And there was actually a lot of Flames fans in the building, which is cool. I hung out with a couple of them at a bar there after. One of them was from Germany, actually. And just, to be able to high five across a bunch of Habs fans and just, that road win. And that's the thing. Nothing better than seeing your team win at home, especially in a playoff game.
It's fun on the road, though, too.
But on the road, you make friends so quickly because you're all the enemy. And it just makes for a way cooler experience. And I couldn't have asked for a better game. Like, and this has been all over Twitter today. I tweeted something about, Matt Coronato showing he belongs in the NHL. Got like 100 likes so far. And then the fact that game was dictated by Zary, Coronato, and Wolf. We might go ahead, we might lose the next 15 and be a shit hockey team. But last night was like, Flames fans, here's your future. If it's not okay now, it's going to be okay soon.
That's like the box score we want to see 3 years from now, right?
Yeah, it's the Flames of tomorrow today.
It had to have been kind of a whirlwind week because right after our show the next day, last week, Klapka goes to the Wranglers, and then Hanzik goes down.
He had his first pro goal too, eh? Hanzik?
He did. And you know what? Here is who gets called up if Mantha's unable to play? And is it Hanzik? Does Hanzik step back into this lineup so we can keep Pospisil down on that fourth line? And does Hanzik step into that spot next to Sharon Govich? Because I think that would be a good little line.
I do too, but I'm also, again, I'm a big believer.
I know what you're going to say.
And I know I love seeing guys get called up you don't necessarily expect to, and I want to see where Currens play.
I know. I just
for a while. I just and the flip side of that too is I'd have no issue if Hanzik came back up, which he will at some point. But Hanzik is just starting to play pro, and I think he needs a bit more time in the American League.
I do too, but I'm also real big on putting together the best lineup we can. And
100%.
I still give Hanzik a little bit of a tip of the hat for his strong camp. And then he gets injured up, against Chicago. And I just almost feel like, hey, here's the injury. You get to slide in, right? You're coming up because of an injury. You're going to go down when he's back, but you're coming up because of an injury.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And we have a lot of options.
I'm surprised we didn't see a call up today. I really am.
Yeah, and I don't know if the Mantha thing, especially with his hometown, I'm sure if he could have played, he would have. It could have been precautionary, but I suspect that it's a bit more than I think he's going to be day to day. They don't have to call somebody up.
No,
there's a case to be made for Jacob Peltier as well.
I don't want to go on that road yet. I don't, and here's why.
I need to say that.
He's gonna. No, I know why, and I'm not trying to be an ass to him. I'm not. I'm going to give you a real good reason, though. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm all ears.
If Mantha's out for 8 days, let's say, we call up Peltier. He's got to go back down. He's got to clear waivers again. We got to go through that rigmarole again. Yeah. Now, here's another situation to that. Let's let Jacob Peltier play and get confidence over a long stretch, not a 12-game stretch. Let's do it over a 30-game stretch so that when Jacob Peltier comes back, we're getting the true Jacob Peltier.
Well, and again, he had a major injury last year, and I also think that the best time to bring up Peltier, because there are other very good options, the best time to bring him back is when you have space available via trade. So if Kuzmenko gets moved or something like that, right?
Yep, I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
There's no need to rush it. He's doing great. So
we're sorry about that. Where are we at with Justin Kirkland? Because I thought he was not good last night.
I was just thinking of him.
He had a turnover last night, a bad penalty. He suited up for his 10th game. The dude has to clear waivers now.
Yep.
I did not like his game, and I will bet money that Rooney's back in the lineup against Boston.
I haven't liked either one recently, although Kirkland's been better on the whole.
Would agree.
Yeah.
I haven't hated Rooney. But Rooney's one of those guys, like, he never does anything that you hate, but he never does anything that you like.
I found him to be extremely ineffective so far this year.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, and the thing is,
goals.
Typically, yeah, it's just when you're in that role, you go under the radar in so many different respects. I mean, they are what they are. I tweeted earlier in the week or last week, I guess, about the need for like a bona fide fourth line center, and a lot of people push back talking about Kirkland, and I get it because we have seen that at times, but a lot of time we haven't. So that role is still a bit of a coin toss to me. I'm not impressed with either one right now. Kirkland, like I said, has been better, of the two, but neither one has really staked a claim to that.
Yeah. I'm in back and forth because I love the Kirkland story, and I
oh, we all do.
Part of me always says though, and maybe I think goofy, like, is Kirkland part of our rebuild future? Probably not.
No.
But then I sit and say to myself, well, is Rooney part of the long term?
Absolutely not. I mean, nothing against Rooney.
How do I sit and get? I don't know.
I still don't understand how Rooney got that contract from Brad Treliving. It made no sense.
It did not make any sense.
That
was the day that Johnny Gaudreau walked, and we got.
Well, that wasn't a fair comparison, obviously, but
it was just a day. I mean, it was just a bad day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I love what I've seen on Matthew Coronato, but do you think it's hilarious how we go from all extremes of like excitement for this guy? Like, he'll pop off 2 goals and we'll think he's the answer to the future, and then he'll go 5 games with nothing and we'll be like, he's not really.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think at the Chicago game where he had another 2 goals, like I think that's just part of finding your way. Somebody tweeted to me in response and it said, like, oh, it was Montreal. Let's see how he does against Boston. I don't think that's relevant at all.
Montreal's completely irrelevant.
Montreal's a hardworking young team. Mantha has been excellent at certain points of the season. I don't give a shit if it's Montreal, Boston. Coronato had a great game against, NHL players. Like, there's so much parity in the league. I don't care if he scores a hat trick against Utah or Colorado. It makes no difference to me.
He was awesome last night, and I had to laugh, and I saw all the people tweeting about it, and I brought up to an X Factor is Brett from Flames Pulse. He said, I was thinking I might not be tweeting tonight, but then Matt Coronato, and he was. That's just the night last night was his night, and and boy, it put a smile on my face, and I think did it not give us the excitement back? Because coming off that Edmonton game, I was a little down.
Oh, that was deflating. That was deflating. Yeah. Thanks, Brett, for the X Factor this week too. That was it was an interesting.
It was a good one. I had to laugh when I saw it. But didn't Matthew Coronato bring that excitement back to the team last night in the fan base, where it's like, if he keeps producing and Zari keeps producing and we get Sharon Govich back on track, like, wow.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Coronato we saw all the reasons he was drafted as high as he was last night.
Mm-hmm.
He had, and this is really easy to say, he could be the best right winger we've had since Joe McGinley. But again, think about it. The right wing has been so weak for so long, and the guys who filled it and did it well were not natural right shot right wingers, right? Yeah. And that's what I mean by saying that. So, it was the best game of his career. Like I said, the way he scored that goal, like, so confident. He's like, let's get the hell out of here. I want to go get a beer. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but like, he was done playing hockey and he just put it.
I wanted to go have a beer with him after, because it was just a fun game. I was jealous last night because I knew after that game was over, it's like, oh, Kyle's gonna go sit and talk Flames hockey, and
I was vibing big time. I was loving it. Yeah, I was having the time of my life. But guys like Brett Hull, confident guy, you know, and that's the goal scorer, whether you score 20, 30, or 50, like that's what you got to be. And that was Matt Coronato last night. And I can't wait to see what else this kid can do. I'm excited for the game in Boston. I think he's going to have another strong one, hopefully put another goal. We shall see.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. You know, one thing I think we need to talk about on the show today, and it was a big topic in Flames land this week, is Michael Backlund hitting the 1,000. And
yes,
so many people ask me all the time, well, who's your favorite Flame? And sometimes some years it's been hard. And I had, since Mika Kiprusoff retired, I've went back and forth asking myself who my favorite Flame is. And Michael Backlund has always been like a steady stronghold player for the Flames. And when he re-signed, and I was very proactive in wanting him to be captain. Mm-hmm. And I think he's done a hell of a job, and to see him get 1,000 with his family, and most of all, his friends. How cool is that?
Yeah, really cool. Actually, it's funny. I have a Backlund game worn from 16-17 season, and it's gone up way in value since the time I bought it for like $400. So, it's like that's what we call the Backlund bump, right? He makes everybody around him better. He's been doing it for years.
Yeah,
like you take a young player that's either struggling, or you want him to learn the game the right way, or you know, you want somebody who can teach him or bring him along. It's Michael Backlund, and nobody does it better. And again, I think Flames Nation did an article a little while ago. Backlund might not be one of the best Flames of all time, but he's one of the most important. And that's a perfect way to put it, because he is extremely important to this team. He makes guys like, you know, the Coronatos, Zazaris, like they all learn from guys like him, and it makes them a lot more responsible, better hockey players.
Well, I mean, and look at the other players of the past he's helped, Matthew Tkachuk, and like there's been a lot. There's been a lot of players that he helped get their start, right?
He's, how far away is he from being the Flames all-time games played leader?
I don't know. I don't know that.
I'm going to check right now. Yeah. And it's funny because of my game warrants, I have a Regeer and I have a Backlund. I think they're 2 and 3 on the list.
Are they? Is Regeer that high?
Regeer played 800 in some games.
Did you listen to Barnburner today and hear the story from that Regeer and Jamie McLennan?
No.
It was a game late in the. I'll just people should go listen to it. But Jamie McLennan was saying there was one in like 05 or 06. It must have been 06. There was a dump in shot from the red line, and McLennan said, I was stupid, and I kind of stuck my skate out and just kind of flicked it to the corner, you know, the kick save. And as the game's going on, Regeer was coming down to the corner to get the puck, and he yelled out something about old school kick save or old time hockey. He's a good. I loved Robin Regeer. He was a good player.
Oh, he's awesome. Just awesome. Actually, Sebastian Ongaro, who just hooked me up with a couple of Trevor Lewis game used sticks. They actually arrived today.
Really?
Yeah, which I'm not usually a big stick guy, but the price is right, and they got my name on them, so that's cool. But Sebastian actually sent me some pictures today of him with Regeer. He got to show Regeer one of his game warrants. He's just a great guy. And actually, he mentioned Regeer recently moved back to Calgary, so we'll probably see him more on Flames broadcasts. Yeah,
I saw that he was going to be at an autograph thing this week or something. I just saw a clip on that.
So this is the games played list. So Jarome Iginla, 1,219. Backlund's at 1,003. So he's going to have to re-sign again to catch Iginla, which is possible. And then you get Mark Giordano at 949. Man, it's a shame he didn't play 1,000 here. And then Robin Regeer, 826. Regeer's fourth all time, followed by McInnes, Fleury, and 9 and 10 actually are Sean Monahan and TJ Brodie.
Really?
656 and 634 respectively. That's interesting.
Oh,
but yeah, 1,003 behind only Jarome Iginla. Like, wow, unreal.
This weekend we got 2 games. Thursday, Calgary's in Boston. We've touched a little bit on that one, and it'll be interesting to see what the line pairings are, see where we're at with injuries, and most of all, see where Dustin Wolf is if he gets to start. And where we go from there. And then we got the wonderful traditional Saturday afternoon game in Buffalo. And I have no idea what to expect there.
Afternoon games just there was a season a couple of years ago where they rattled off a lot of wins in the afternoon.
You know what? The only afternoon game that I remember And this is why I said it's a traditional one in Buffalo. I remember a couple years ago, 2 years ago, the Flames played the Sabres, and Elias Lindholm won it in overtime and on a beauty. And I don't know, that one just sticks in my head.
I remember Jacob Peltier's first NHL goal. I was at my ex's apartment in Edmonton watching that game. And that's all I remember. I think they lost. Anyway, that's all I remember with the game is Peltier scoring and how cool that was. But
I hate day games.
I know you do. You hate them you hate them an unreasonable amount, I would dare say, but to each their own. I don't love them, to be fair. So anyway.
A big thank you to a few new followers this week. Blair Fields, Matt Britton, Tyler Shapka, Veer, and Jake Reynes joined us on X. We appreciate that. So
awesome.
Let's keep growing that, man. Let's keep growing that.
Yeah, we can have much more follows on X, on Spotify. It's been busy lately. People love listening to us bitch, I guess.
You know what? There's been a lot of bitching, but a lot of good things this year. You know what? Honestly, Kyle, if we sat here when we started season 6 in September, if we would have said that we would be on a meter of positive, negative, that we'd be over on the positive right now, we both would have said, "Now you're full of shit." But I believe we've had more positive to talk about this season so far.
We talked about the emergence of Braden Bahal, Dustin Wolf, Matt Coronato of late, Justin Kirkland, Kevin Ball has adjusted well to more minutes and is still adjusting. God, who else? Dan Vladar, is stronger than he's ever been as a Flame.
There's been a fair amount of positive this year. So
actually, Miromanov had a really good game last night.
He is growing on me. Every game gets better. I've been critical on him, but every game gets better.
Yeah.
Heck, if you just said right now that we were going to be sitting in 4th place in the Pacific, 13 games in, I'd have been, hell yeah, we'll take that.
I saw something today about how the playoffs start today. The Flames would play the Kings.
We would.
And there's somebody say there's 20 teams behind us in the standings.
Is that no?
Or something weird like that.
It is. Yep, exactly 20 teams. We're 12th.
That's insane.
You know what I don't like though? I look at this, right? And I look at the top 14 teams. All of them have a plus goal differential. We're the only team in that top 15 with a negative.
What is it? -2?
Yeah. Not horrible or anything, but
it's not great. I don't like negative goal differentials.
Nope. It usually means that you're not in the playoffs, is what it usually means.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Or you get there to sheer luck and you're going to get smoked. Okay, what else you got?
Ottawa's 6-6 with a +5 goal differential.
They got to tighten up, though. That's a team. We said this at the start of the season. Ottawa's way too skilled to be as mediocre as they have been. They got to start putting some streaks together, and they have all the talent in the world to do it.
Guess who the team with the worst goal differential is?
I don't know.
Montreal.
Oh, yeah. Jeez,
Pittsburgh, San Jose, you're right there. Oh, Philly.
I think Pittsburgh, I think that window is firmly shut now for that team to be competitive. I appreciate Crosby doing what he did to stay there and try to ride it out, but it's really hard. And this is the thing, like, especially now in the cap world, like Detroit was so good. It made the playoffs like 25 years, but the transition from the Datsyuks and the Zetterbergs of the world, the Nick Lidstroms, to guys like Dylan Larkin and other really good players, but maintain that competitiveness is next to impossible to do because there's always going to be that transition, right? You get teams like Buffalo who keep face planting as they try to do it. But in Pittsburgh's case, and the Flames did it too with the Gunlund Kiprusoff. It's like, okay, you got to cash out while they're still worth something.
Yeah.
And the Penguins, I assume they still have Jeff Carter. Yeah, I think so. He's still long. He's long on the tooth. Evgeny Malkin. I don't know what the hell they were. I know what they were thinking. I guess, like
Carlson and Letang things are just tanks.
Well, that's what I said. So the Mickey Kiprusoff retirement game that I was at in March, Chris Letang is the number one reason the Flames came back and won that game. Yeah, Kadri had a goal of the year candidate. Sharon Govich had an absolute rocket, but 3 of those goals were on Letang giveaways. And I know that obviously the thinking was bringing Carlson to ignite that offense and run that power play with Letang.
Was dead last year.
Oh, it's time to cash out and start rebuilding. But again, it's like leaving something in the oven too long. It's burnt. Now you're gonna mess to clean up, right? Man, I don't even bake. Where the fuck did I come up with that? Anyway,
what is with you tonight in the cooking analogies?
What was the other cooking analogy?
I don't know.
I'm exhausted. I probably said all kinds of ridiculous things.
I'll
tell you, man. It's
Here's another fun fact on the Bruins team. They're -12. We got them next, so I don't know. We'll see.
The Bruins are -12.
Bruins are -12. This team is reeling right now. They're reeling. I know they're.
But again, great example, Brad. There's another one, very similar. Although they've been a little more effective at it in terms.
They've been way more effective. They've been way more.
Zadorov and Lintel moves, even though the money was a lot. Those are the types of players they really needed. And it's funny because it's like getting a Bergeron light and a Chara light. Now that I think of it, and I'm sure I'm not the first one to think of it, but the Zadorov Chara comparisons obviously have been made. But they're transitioning a lot better because they are integrating good young players into it. The Penguins haven't done that,
No.
So
no.
If you can't sell hope, what can you sell, right?
Sell shit.
Well, that's kind of what they're getting. And I mean, oh, man. I was waiting, there was going to come a point when I really dove into certain things that, not related necessarily to Flames. And this is one of them. This transitioning thing is interesting to me. These teams that, didn't say, push it in the center of the table, and they just kept hanging on, and now they're regretting it.
The one defense I would have with Pittsburgh is like, I think you change out everybody but Crosby, right? I think you have to keep Crosby there, but I think we just went through it. There's 6 other guys that should have been.
Well, and nobody thought Tristan Jarry was going to struggle this much. Nobody.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother topic we could talk for an hour on is goalies and how much do you give a goalie and how much, we're going to be sitting here. Hopefully, this sounds crazy because I pray we have the problem where a couple years from now we're sitting here going, how much do we pay Wolf?
Somebody tweeted that last night too.
Because that means he's playing well, right?
Well, somebody said after the first period they were ready to walk in the dressing rooms and give him an 8-year contract. And I get it, man. I watched it. Fucking kid's dynamite.
We can't get too jump the gun with this guy though. Like he's been good this year. He's exceeding my expectations. So let's just let it ride.
It's just hard to temper the excitement. We're not used to nice things as Flames fans.
But with excitement comes pressure on him, right? Like I almost cringe. Like I heard the talk this morning about the Calder, and I'm just like,
oh, he's going to be in that conversation no matter what. I don't think that's
pressure. Let's not talk about it now. Let's not talk about it.
Let's just float it out there occasionally. We don't have to fixate on it and assume it. Just say, you know what? Yeah, he's going to be in the Calder conversation, and will likely he'll be on the ballot.
He's going to have to play 45, 50 games to be on that as a goalie.
Like he did last night, he'll play that no problem. So we'll see.
I know. I agree.
But I agree with you too. Like I don't want to get too excited, but I'm also like, hey, you know what? He's really goddamn good. And a lot of people in Montreal didn't know who the fuck he was until last night.
Shut up.
Now they know. But yeah, absolutely. Most people don't give a shit about other teams.
I know. You're right.
I know because I'm most people. So
I do. I don't. Yeah. I'm gonna go watch some hockey now and take it easy.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, were you driving all over rural Quebec for the last fucking?
No, you need 16, to go to
17 hours. But now I'm wide awake because you got me worked up about fucking hockey, and now,
that's why we do this show, right?
Yeah, but see, now it's here. What time is it? 10 after 10. The old East Coast of Canada. So and that's the thing. And here's the other thing. We had that goddamn time change on the weekend on Sunday morning. So I'm going around with, so I got to go, and you and I both drive an F-150. So, I had to go out and change the clock in that and change the microwave oven and change the actual oven.
My clock changed on its own in my truck.
Well, your truck's fancier than mine. I saw it. It's a nicer model. I just have a sport edition. It's like a 2019. But anyway, not the point.
Not the point. Yeah. No. But
point being is had the time change, and then I had another time change, and then another time change when I came back.
All right. You win.
No, I lose. That's the point.
All right, Flames fans, enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the Bruins game tomorrow, and we're back this week.
What do we got after the Bruins game? I don't even know.
We had Buffalo on Saturday.
Oh, it's the Eastern trip. That's right. We're in Buffalo. Ah, fuck. I should just fly to Buffalo.
Right? Probably see a win.
God, don't say that. Trap game. Anyway.
Trap game.
All right. Well, yeah. Yeah, right? Well, enjoy the rest of the week. We'll be talking. Interact with us in the socials. And, yeah, we'll start mailing out some t-shirts again. How about that? We'll want some t-shirt hit me up if I want to. See what we left.
Let's do it. Sounds good. See you this week. See you next week, folks.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames hockey talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.